One massive strike and everything around turned to dust. Our guy started out right in the crosshairs of some ruthless players, trapped inside the body of the most trash monster in the dungeon, completely doomed to be a weak mob, not even allowed to run away. But that's where it gets crazy. The whole system just glitches out. Breaking all the rules, he pops open a forbidden chest. Out of nowhere, this ridiculously OP power awakens, the cracked ability to turn defeated enemies into his loyal minions. This underrated little beast is gonna raise an unstoppable legion. With beatdowns so heavy, any hunter will beg for mercy. Bro, this story is wild. Smash that like button and subscribe for this recap. Our boy wonders what the heck is going on, since everything suddenly went pitch black. But then he realizes there's something covering his eyes. Shocked by his new hand, he figures out he turned into a monster. Still confused, our MC pats himself down to see what happened to his body. Staring into the horizon, he takes a brief pause in dead silence. Upon seeing his reflection in a puddle, our guy freaks out and screams, questioning what the heck is up with his looks. He concludes he went too far, died, and reincarnated as a mushroom, despairing over not being able to flirt with girls anymore and demanding his handsome face back. Suddenly, a voice calls out to him saying, "Brother Xing Bao." Our MC turns around and spots a shadow approaching in the distance. Widening his single eye, he focuses on the approaching figure, but right after he rubs his eyes thinking he's seeing things, the reflection in his eye reveals another monster, a purple mushroom with yellow eyes. Getting closer, the purple creature asks why he's saying so many weird things today. Utterly disappointed and speechless, our guy thinks his brain got taken over by some other mushroom. He asks what he used to say, and the other shroom explains their people usually only say 3 things. The purple mushroom shouts that they always yell, "Intruders, we're gonna take you down," followed by a battle cry. Naturally, our MC is super confused by this explanation, but out of nowhere, other mushrooms scream, "Invaders." With a massive thud, a giant foot stomps hard on the cave floor, revealing a huge orc with glowing red eyes. Right after, an orc duo shows up, a warrior and an archer. Labu, the archer, questions if it's safe, but Kabu, the warrior, calms her down, saying the dungeon monsters are weak and predictable. A level 1 little mushroom, identified as Little Shroom, charges at the orc screaming he's gonna defeat him. Without even trying, the orc completely bodies the little guy in one hit. He looks at his partner and says he told her it'd be easy, and she agrees, claiming today is a speedrun kind of day. Next, a horde of mushrooms rushes their way, screaming they're gonna take them all down. And that's where it gets crazy. The orc duo starts wiping the floor with the mushroom monsters one by one. Our little guy and the other shroom just watch the brawl. Wondering out loud, the MC asks why they're rushing in like crazy, even though the enemies are clearly OP. It explains that they're all NPCs with pre-programmed actions, lacking the freedom players have. Surprised to learn the orcs are players, since he thought players were always human, he listens as the other shroom says, it's just an NPC with a few extra lives, unlike the rest. But suddenly zips right past them, nearly taking them out. At that exact moment, our guy looks down and sees the silhouette of the archer getting ready. Labu aims her bow right at him. Seeing this, our boy yells in panic for his buddy to run away. He turns and starts running, only to get confused when he realizes he's not being followed. The purple mushroom stays frozen in place, not moving an inch even after getting attacked. Frantically, our MC screams at him, asking why he's just standing there and telling him to run. In response, the little purple monster replies that running away isn't in their programming. Ignoring NPC logic, our guy reaches out and yells for him to grab his hand. He grabs his friend's arm, but right then, the whole scene starts glitching out. Multiple warning and data error messages pop up everywhere. Stubbornly, our boy keeps pulling hard, screaming he doesn't care about programming or errors. While being dragged and glitching out, the purple shroom calls out to the MC. Finally managing to drag him along, he runs, saying survival is the top priority. The orcs watch them escape, with Kabu wondering if mushrooms can flee, while Labu figures it's just a bug to report to the admins later. She says, bug or not, they can't let the mushrooms get away, and Kabu agrees, warning her not to get defeated while he reports the issue. Hidden away, our MC asks if there's any weapon nearby, but his friend replies that mushrooms are programmed to be unarmed. Our guy then widens his eye upon spotting something. He asks what's inside the giant treasure chest right in front of them. Excitedly, he asks if they might find a weapon, but the purple shroom explains those chests are only for players. The little monster keeps explaining that mushrooms can't interact with the chests. But ignoring the warning, our MC steps up and tries to open the chest, triggering a bunch of error messages all over again. He uses all his strength, prying the chest lid wide open. The purple mushroom is blown away, thinking the old brother Sing Bao would never do something like this and wondering why he's so different all of a sudden. Looking inside, the little monster is shocked by the amount of good loot in the chest. Suddenly, an arrow gets shot straight at him. Out of pure instinct, the purple shroom tries to save our guy. And just like that, everything changed, tossing himself right in front of the attack. RMC's face gets covered in his buddy's purple blood. He watches his friend take the arrow and drop to the ground, sacrificing himself to protect him. Without wasting a second, another one comes flying his way. Right as it's about to hit him, the arrow bounces right off. From up high, the archer watches the whole scene, not believing what just went down. She is completely shocked, wondering how a simple, low-level mushroom mob managed to block her arrow. Meanwhile, the deflected projectile ends up stuck in the wall. The archer also notices that our little guy opened a treasure chest that only players should have access to. Soon enough, the enemy realizes in pure shock that this system bug is way bigger than expected. Near a purple portal, Kabu the orc reports that those were all the bugs he found, and a hooded figure acknowledges it. Kabu then complains, questioning how dungeons can still have bugs after running for so long. They explain that it's exactly because they've been active for so long that maintenance ends up missing small glitches. Revealing themselves to be an admin, the hooded being shares that after defeating the Human Alliance, the Lich King worried the warriors would get bored and cause trouble, so he created the dungeon for them to kill time farming and leveling up, relying on players to report bugs to the admins. Back inside, the archer decides not to wait and aims her bow ready to fix the bug herself. She then fires an arrow with massive force, aiming straight at the target. The projectile flies at top speed toward our little guy, but our boys with a swift move uses a sword to block the incoming arrow. Realizing his movements are so clean, he figures the base stats of this mushroom body aren't half bad. Annoyed, the orc claps back by firing a volley of multiple arrows all at once. Our MC defends himself with the blade, deflecting every single projectile. He notices that with his short legs, pushing forward under heavy fire won't be easy, so he looks around for a shield. Quickly, he slices off the chest lid, and right after he grabs hold of the massive treasure chest lid. With a huge effort, he blocks the incoming arrows. Labo is shook, questioning how a mushroom knows how to use a chest lid as a shield, and realizing it's acting just like a player. Meanwhile, our boy pushes forward with his makeshift shield, guarding himself against the flying arrows. The projectiles slam hard into the chest lid, but he keeps advancing. He then leaps right at the orc. With a dense center strike, he takes the player out. The attack is fatal, splashing everywhere. Shortly after, the orc's body hits the floor, with our MC watching from the side. Popping up, a system screen congratulates him on his first takedown and unlocks racial talents, like a communication network, the ability to plant himself to absorb nutrients and gain skills, plus a shape-shifting form. He wonders if he's got a system now, but figures that after turning into a talking mushroom, it's not even that wild. Eager to test his new cracked skills, he gives mushroom planting a try. Starting the process, he absorbs the nutrients and data from the enemy's body. Energy veins start popping up on his leg during the absorption. He feels like it's a pretty intoxicating sensation. Suddenly, a light bulb goes off in his head. Our boy looks into the distance and sees his fallen friend, tossing the mushroom onto the orc. He says that since his buddy took an arrow for him, it's payback time to save his life. So, he activates the mushroom planting skill, reaching out over his friend's body. A massive explosion goes off. Then, the energy starts condensing, forming some kind of glowing seed. From the mushroom's body, the energy rises, shaping itself into a brand new humanoid form. The figure fully materializes, revealing a female body racked in energy and red particles. As the light fades, our guy is faced with the silhouette of a woman standing right in front of him. Acting like the goofy mushroom he is, he totally loses it, getting a massive nosebleed. The woman who showed up is a pointy-eared archer. It displays a system window, showing her stats as a level 2 mushroom archer, detailing her skills, including the absorbed orc fury racial talent. Kneeling before our hero, the new archer calls him king and asks him to give her a name. Next, another system message pops up, stating he cultivated his first subordinate and needs to name her. He thinks for a second, figuring the mushroom folks don't come with default names. Out of nowhere, his eye widens, like he just had a genius idea, and then he points and declares that, from now on, she's gonna be called Seifeng. The archer accepts the name Seifeng and immediately asks which dungeon they're gonna raid. Scolding her, the MC reminds her they are monsters and NPCs, not players. Boldly flashing a megalomaniac grin, he says that in that case, they should follow their programming and hunt down the remaining player. Meanwhile, on the other side of the cave, a skeleton is lying on the ground. The orc steps on it like it's absolutely nothing. He can't believe Labu got clowned by the weakest trash mob in the game, since a normal level 1 mushroom could never pull that off. The warrior then looks into the distance, spots our MC, and concludes he must be a rare elite. Hyped, he thinks the trip was worth it since rare elites always drop cracked loot, and if he gets lucky with a blue item, he'll be rich. So, the orc uses the orc charge skill and dashes at top speed toward our little guy. Standing completely still, the MC braces for impact, gripping his cleaver. He dodges right on time and the orc slams into the wall full force. And even so, our MC managed to deal some damage. However, he notices this warrior is built way tougher than the archer, since the full power hit did so little damage. The orc, looking mad tight, yells that the little punk actually managed to hurt him. Without wasting a beat, our little guy books it out of there, slamming the cave door shut with everything he's got. The scene shifts to a wooden bridge crossing a river toward a cave entrance. Wasting no time, the orc warrior smashes the door down, reaching the spot where our little goat is waiting. Calmly, our little guy just stands there staring down the orc like he's nothing, with the mist swirling around him. The orc finds it weird he's just chilling there and suspects a trap, but in the end, remembers he's just an NPC. And after farming some aura, our MC hits him with the ultimate taunt, the middle finger. He gets absolutely triggered by the taunt and screams, asking how he dares mock him, bellowing that he's gonna turn him into mushroom paste. Upon running across the bridge, it starts making some really sketchy sounds. Tiny cracks have formed on the pillars holding it up. Completely enraged, the orc warrior didn't even notice the trap and gets ready to attack our MC. But suddenly, no one saw that coming. The floor breaks right beneath him. The orc is shell-shocked, seeing the entire bridge snap apart. Down he goes, falling straight into the water. He screams in rage, accusing the lowly little mushroom of tricking him, which, to be fair, was super obvious since he suspected a trap from the start. Our MC observes that in his panic, the enemy even dropped his weapon and is now stuck with limited movement in the water. So he throws his cleaver straight at the orc warrior. The mushroom hits his opponent, who scoffs, saying that even unarmed and restricted, that pathetic strength wouldn't do any damage. Unexpectedly, a massive arrow pierces right through him, catching him entirely off guard. Out of nowhere, a high-speed arrow ricks through the water, heading right for the orc warrior. Looking in its direction, he can't even see who is attacking him, and before he can even try to look, an arrow sinks into his skull, taking him out on the spot. With zero time to react, the warrior's hand slowly sinks into the water as he gets defeated. Seifeng is stationed on the riverbank in a shooting stance, while a system message states the orc fury effect has ended. Slowly, the water goes dark with the enemy's end, and another window confirms the orc warrior has been eliminated. He walks up to the body and says it's finally his turn to make a move. Placing his foot on the orc's body, he activates his skill, unleashing a bright red energy. A system screen pops up, saying he's remodeling his outer form. Inside a cloud of smoke and particles, the transformation takes place. Once the dust settles, our boy emerges in a human form, celebrating that he finally sculpted his face back. But Seifeng gets curious and points at him, asking what that thing dangling below is. In sheer panic, our MC quickly checks and spots something massive hanging below his waist. He then chills out and explains it's just the axe handle, breathing a sigh of relief, saying he thought he forgot to wear clothes for a second, though it remains a mystery where the rest of the axe was hiding. A system window drops his new stats, now showing as a level 2 mushroom leader, with the warrior class and the orc fury talent that boosts his damage by 30%, and his mushroom planting skill levels up too, letting him create 2 mushroom soldiers from bodies, who also share XP with him. Furthermore, he scored 2 magic pouches as loot that can temporarily store a small stash of items. He asks how they're getting out of there, and Seifeng explains that since they're on the lowest floor of the dungeon, they've got to fight their way up. Questioning the logic, he asks how those level 1 orc players managed to warp straight into this place. Seifeng replies that players have special permissions and can choose to teleport straight to the bottom floor. Curious about how she knows all this, he listens as she mentions hearing it from other players back when she was just an NPC. He then makes up his mind and says they're gonna battle their way up 1 floor at a time. Without delay, the two start trekking across the rocky cave terrain. The duo reaches a fork in the road, and Seifeng explains the left path leads to the level 1 slime floor, while the right heads to the graveyard. So, he tells Seifeng to go farm some XP on the slime floor while he checks out the graveyard. Hesitantly, she finds the idea weird, but with his red eyes glowing, our little guy warns that this place is now gonna become their turf. Our MC walks alone through the cave tunnels. He catches a whiff of the air and comments that, just like you'd expect from a graveyard, you can smell the stench from a mile away. Staring at the smoke coming from holes in the ceiling, he figures trash and bodies must get dumped down from up there. Our guy stumbles upon a massive area filled with bones, remains, and all kinds of tossed out junk. Even though all that stuff was thrown down ages ago, he notices there are still nutrients left to be scavenged. Digging through the spot, he finds a mix of gunpowder and humus inside a barrel. Soon after, he also uncovers a mix of pitch and humus, which is just as useful. And finally, he tracks down a totally ripped magic book mixed in with more organic matter. Our boy then remembers that, besides Seifeng, he can still spawn one more mushroom soldier. He then uses his power on one of the explosives he found, wrapping it in a pulsing red energy. The object starts transforming, getting covered by some sort of mass that shifts its shape. At the end of the process, a brand new mushroom soldier pops out with a crown of flames on its head. The system window describes it as a level 2 explosive mushroom, rocking fire skills and a 50% boost to movement speed. Analyzing his creation, our little guy says it's not bad and has a solid vibe, except it's kinda short. Just then he spots 2 glowing blue lights shining in the dark cave ahead. Our MC immediately goes on high alert. He quickly jumps out of the way, barely dodging the incoming lightning strike. After the strike, he lands, while a snail on the ground gives off a bluish glow. The creature reveals itself as a level 2 thunder snail, the graveyard's guardian, showing up covered in raw electricity. He realizes the monster also feeds on humus, making it direct competition, and orders his new explosive mushroom to show off its power. The tiny soldier charges up its skill, flame burst shot, and fires off a concentrated fireball. Flying straight at the snail, the projectile forces it to react with its electric aura for protection. Fire and electricity clash, creating a massive flash that lights up the entire cave. Violently, the collision sparks a huge explosion, kicking up debris and a ton of smoke everywhere. And this is where it gets good. The MC thinks that annoying snail has been completely wiped out by the blast. But the snail doesn't seem bothered at all, slowly creeping forward while still crackling with energy. Gathering its power, the monster charges up a heavy electric attack. Swiftly, the fire mushroom pops its lone flame rush skill and moves at blazing speed. Our boy notices how sluggish the enemy is, realizing that's the exact weakness they need to exploit. Dashing around the snail, the tiny fire soldier attacks its flanks and uses his agility to mess with it. With an opening in sight, the shroom leaps right over the beast and preps another point-blank fire shot. The fireball lands a direct hit on the creature's shell, triggering a massive blast. Once the dust settles down, we see the giant snail's shell completely cracked and smoking. From up on a rock, our NC watches his mushroom soldier happily waving and celebrating the win. He then tells his little ally to stop cheering and go confirm if the enemy is actually defeated. And that's where it gets crazy. Out of nowhere, the tiny soldier gets struck by a blue energy. Utterly destroyed, he gets taken down by an electric strike, coming straight from the monster's body. Rising from the shattered shell, the creature's true form appears, a blue slug covered in lightning, and way faster. Without missing a beat, our boy jumps off the cliff to face this new threat head-on. He tries to strike, but the slug dodges with smooth agility, making him miss the hit entirely. Flashing by like a blue blur, the monster completely catches our MC off guard with its speed. The creature starts circling at high speed, trapping our guy in trails of electricity while he desperately tries to land a hit. Mocking our hero, the beast says he's as slow as a snail, but he realizes that by ditching the shell, the slug became as fast as lightning. Scaling the cave walls, the electric monster leaves a trail of pure energy wherever it goes. Our MC watches the enemy's agility, reflecting that without a house on your back, you really do get lighter. Turned into a blur of light, the beast launches into another dash, ready for its next strike. Standing his ground, our guy preps for the speedy enemy's next move. Suddenly, a massive fiery explosion goes off right behind his back. The hit flies straight toward the slug. With a loud clash, the fire projectile hits the electricity. He then gets ready to make a run for it. Using her speed, the slug dodges every single shot, mocking them for missing. Meanwhile, our MC just watches the whole scene from a distance. Pointing at them, the creature keeps taunting, claiming their speed isn't even in the same league. However, our boy just smirks and reveals he didn't miss because he was never aiming at her in the first place. At that moment, the cave ceiling starts crumbling down, dropping chunks of rock everywhere. The electric slug looks up and figures out the target was always the roof to bring it down. Even with the debris falling, the beast brags, claiming none of that stuff is gonna hit her. That's when our MC pops his Orc Fury and Orc Charge skills, rushing in wrapped in a red aura. Staring upward, the creature is totally distracted by the dust and falling rubble. She wonders if he's using the thick smoke as cover, bragging the whole time that she can dodge it blindfolded. But before she can even react, our boy lands a heavy dead center blow. Caught completely off guard, the beast realizes he hit a second ambush inside the first one. The impact of the hit blows a crater in the wall, kicking up dust and debris all over the cave. Once the smoke clears, the MC stares at the wall, leaving only a purple stain of what used to be the electric creature. A system screen confirms a thundersnail was taken out, and our MC places his hand over the remains to cultivate spores with the nutrients. Enveloped in energy, he absorbs the power and gets a level up. Another window pops up saying he and Seifeng hit level 3, and he learned the new Spirit Mushroom skill to buff his soldiers. Right after, an electric blue glow starts rising from the monster's remains, shaping into a new beast. The system lets him know he crafted an electric mushroom, a super fast soldier that turns nutrients into energy for attacks. Stepping up to the plate, the new soldier appears, a level 3 electric mushroom glowing with blue lightning. Right beside it, the level 2 explosive mushroom also steps out, burning with its fiery aura. Looking satisfied, our boy checks out his 2 creations and announces that this spot is going to be the mushroom people's main base. Soon after, he thinks about Seifeng, wondering if she ran into a tough enemy since he hasn't gotten any XP drops from her in a minute. Cutting over to her, she's standing on high ground checking out a bunch of slime she pinned down with her arrows. But out of nowhere, something massive shows up, asking if she's using his minions for target practice. Appearing right in front of her is the level 2 Slime King, a giant gooey beast with a single glowing red eye. The big boss stares Seifeng down up close, asking why he feels like he's seen her somewhere before. Not even waiting for an answer, Seifeng fires an arrow that nails the Slime King right in the eye. Annoyed, the monster yells that he wasn't done talking and shoots a blast of green slime her way. Showing off her agility, she leaps over the attack and preps another shot while the Slime King watches her. She lets loose a volley of arrows all at once, piercing the beast's body in multiple spots. However, the Slime King says it doesn't matter how many holes she pokes in him since it won't work, following up by landing a solid punch on her, sending her flying way back. The creature flexes, explaining his body is elastic and those attacks only make him lose a little bit of body fluid at best, and he adds that as long as he can pull water from underground, physical attacks are completely useless. Looking down at Seifeng, the giant monster screams for her to meet her end. The Slime King shapes one of his arms into a massive fist, getting ready to crush her flat. Right as the hit is about to land, and no one saw that coming, his arm instantly explodes, starting to completely disintegrate into nothing. He then notices mushrooms sprouting on his body, wondering how long they've been there. Now fully covered in tiny mushrooms, the Slime King is slowly being eaten away. Panicking, he realizes he's about to be totally clowned. While melting away, he asks himself when those shrooms managed to latch onto his body. That's when he remembers the arrow, figuring out in pure shock that it was packing parasitic spores this whole time. Right before getting taken out for good, the creature seems to remember Seifeng, calling her the Purple Hat Mushroom. With the boss defeated, a black minotaur horn drops to the ground. A system window pops up explaining the item is super durable and can be used to craft weapons. Seifeng pockets the horn and pops her skill to absorb the nutrients from the down slimes, racking up tons of XP. At the exact same time, both she and her MC glow with evolution energy leveling up together. The system states they both hit level 4, with Seifeng unlocking magic mycelium arrows and our boy scoring the skill to craft spy mushrooms. Back at the graveyard, Seifeng watches the shrooms cleaning up the spot. She says she planned to finish up and come help, but was surprised the new troops had already cleared most of it, to which our hero replies, "It's all good." Analyzing the horn, our guy praises the material's quality, but complains they don't have a craftsman to forge a weapon. Seifeng suggests they capture one, but our boy has a better idea, saying it's the perfect time to test his new skill. He explains he's going to use his power to see if he can find any players or bodies with crafting skills nearby. Popping his new skill, he spreads a massive glowing mycelium network all over the cave floor. Tiny spy mushrooms start sprouting through the cave cracks, all hooked up to the mycelium network. Through one of the mushrooms, our MC notices a fight going down close by. The vision shows a squad of creatures chasing a blacksmith, ordering him to surrender so he can forge weapons for them. But the guy refuses to go back to being a slave, screaming that his whole tribe worked for them until they dropped dead from exhaustion. Charging right at him, the group's leader yells that if that's the case, he can just meet his end right there. The spear pieces the blacksmith's chest, taking him out. Watching closely from near the body, one of our MC spy mushrooms catches the whole thing. Our hero turns to Seifeng and sighs, saying they got there way too late. She asks what's going on since she can't see anything, and our boy explains she needs to plug into the mycelium network to get the view. Quickly connecting to it, Seifeng says it worked, now able to see everything through the shrooms too. Our guy says they can't save the living anymore, but they can save the fallen, since it's just a different way of living. Just then, a system message warns that soul data is being transferred through the network, while his 2 mushroom soldiers bicker over something. The explosive mushroom then transfers into the blacksmith's body, kicking off the revival process. Wrapping the fallen body in a massive burst of pink light, a powerful transformation begins. Once the dust clears, the blacksmith comes back as a brand new mushroom soldier, a buff dwarf completely engulfed in flames. A system window tags him as a level 4 explosive mushroom dwarf artisan, packing fire stats and the special ability to summon a fiery hammer. Completely confused by his new form, the soldier wonders what the heck he is now. Explaining he revived him as one of his troops, our MC officially names him Firehammer. Firehammer says he still wants something, but our boy cuts him off, revealing he already knows everything since his spy shrooms were tracking the trolls this whole time. Cutting over to the trolls, one of them asks the boss if they'll have to do the heavy lifting if all the dwarf slaves work themselves to death. The troll boss yells at his minion, calling him an idiot, while one of our MC's spy shrooms watches the whole thing go down up close. Elaborating on his point, the leader says it doesn't matter if the dwarves drop, since they can just grab more from the dungeon, and the other guy agrees there's always a few left around. Suddenly, the boss notices something, and his eye goes wide in shock. Spotting Firehammer, he wonders what the mushroom folks are doing there, since their nest is in a totally different zone. He then concludes it must just be an elite monster that got lost and ended up in the wrong spot. Seeing this as a sweet bonus, he gets hyped and charges into attack, thinking it's his lucky day. The blue beast chucks his spear full force straight at Firehammer, but the fire dwarf just summons his giant hammer and swats the spear right out of the air. With a powerful swing, he throws his hammer, flying like a massive fireball straight toward the opponent. The troll somehow manages to dodge at the absolute last second. Spooked, he looks at the hammer jammed into the ground and admits that was way too close. Resting there, the giant weapon glows with its runes completely engulfed in flames. The troll leader breaks into a cold sweat, realizing the deep trouble he just walked into. To his absolute horror, the flaming hammer flies right back at him, crushing him flat. Panicking hard, the troll leader wonders how a hammer has auto-aim and how a level 3 elite monster scored such top-tier gear. While he's distracted, the blazing hammer rockets toward the other troll. That troll is absolutely terrified, shaking in his boots, and for a split second he actually manages to deflect it, sending it flying way up to the roof of the cave. The flaming weapon gets completely stuck in some kind of giant branch. Wasting no time, Firehammer instantly rushes down the troll. He leaps right on top of him with everything he's got. Trying to fight back, the troll swings for an attack, but Firehammer pops the mycelium bind skill, completely locking down the enemy's arm. Right after that, he triggers mycelium ignite, making the spores blow the guy's arm clean off, striking the troll down at the exact same time. He lands a fiery blow that burns and deletes the troll on the spot. Trying to capitalize on the distraction, the troll boss gets right in Firehammer's face, almost landing a hit with his club, but with a swift move, he dodges and counters the leader with a heavy right hook, launching the troll boss flying across the room. Moments later, Firehammer yanks back his hammer that was stuck in one of the fang-shaped tillers. Catching on to the play, the troll leader screams, realizing he's trying to trigger a cave-in. He dodges and brags, boasting that even though he took a beating, he can still sidestep that kind of attack. Except Firehammer pops his Firehammer ignite skill, making his weapon glow super bright. The weapon gets coated in an overwhelming blaze of fire. Then, the fire dwarf unleashes Flying Hammer Firestorm, sparking a massive explosion right in the troll's face. Wounded and trapped, the troll sub-boss realizes there's absolutely no dodging this one. Multiple fiery blasts go off at the exact same time, destroying everything nearby. A system notification confirms the troll player got eliminated, while his body drops to the floor in pieces. With the fight in the bag, Firehammer just stands there soaking in the victory. Popping up, a system window shows that Artisan Firehammer hit level 5 and unlocked the Recycling Hammer, a tool that doubles as a weapon. Another alert says our MC, Chang Hung, also reached level 5 and unlocked the Farm Mushroom, a brand new utility unit. And the final window reveals Sai-Feng, Qin-Feng, leveled up to 5 and gained Mycelium Step, a cracked skill that lets her teleport straight to her fired arrows. Finally, our boy praises his good work and says he'll drop his coordinates so they can meet up. Surprised to find out his boss is human, Firehammer admits he always had a pretty different impression of them. Explaining how it works, our guy says a mushroom's remodeled form comes from their past life's race, which is why he and Seifeng are human, meaning the dwarf will get a similar glow-up. He then circles back to business, asking if Firehammer can use the horn he's holding to craft some gear for them. The craftsman inspects the item and says the horn is top-tier material, but he still needs other parts that don't seem to be be around. Smiling, our boy looks up and promises that since it's a giant graveyard, the required mats will drop at any given moment. And right on cue, stuff starts raining down from the cave ceiling. A massive downpour of loot, hidden in the rubble. The system spots a trashed magic steel bracelet mixed in with the monster's remains. Using his recycling hammer, Firehammer smashes the debris and rocks to extract all the needed materials. He uncovers a piece of magic steel ore, one of the clutch components for forging. Meanwhile, a level 5 forge mushroom is already grinding at full speed, melting down the metal. Back at the forge, Firehammer swings his blacksmith hammer to mold the new weapons from the gathered loot. Soon enough, the dwarf walks over and lets our MC know the weapons are ready, adding he made some pants and shoes as a bonus. Gripping his new blade, our boy is super impressed, commenting it's way better than that old orc axe he had. A system window breaks down the weapon, explaining it can channel the user's magic to cast spells, though the metal might get damaged from heavy use. Seifeng gets her new weapon too, a gorgeous hunter's bow that totally matches her vibe. Checking the stats, the system says the bow uses mycelium as the string and channels spells into the arrows, but too much heavy magic can wreck it. Firehammer chimes in that he stitched magic pouches into the lining of their clothes, making it way easier to draw their weapons. Asking about their next move, Seifeng gets a smiling reply from him saying they're gonna wipe the entire floor clean. He explains he spent days mapping the spot with the mycelium network and figured out they're in a massive graveyard, meaning the only way up is clearing it floor by floor. Questioning why Firehammer isn't tagging along, she listens as our MC says someone's gotta guard the base, and the dwarf will level up anyway through shared network XP. With that settled, the duo heads out on their mission. Our MC gets startled when the ground violently shakes and a wall starts rising up. In mere seconds, a huge rock wall shoots up from the ground, cutting him off from Seifeng. Facing the sealed-off wall, he realizes there was a hidden magic trap his spy shrooms completely missed. Confidently, he taps the rock and brags that a wall this stick only needs one punch to crumble. That's when our boy taps into Firehammer's shared power, coating his fist in flame mycelium to launch explosive punches. Throwing a full-power fire punch at the wall, he triggers a massive blast. The sheer force blows him flying backward. Out of nowhere, a magic protection circle pops up at the impact zone, revealing the wall is heavily reinforced. Realizing he's not breaking through anytime soon, our little guy decides they'll have to split up and take different routes. He turns around, fully accepting the force split, soon discovering he's in a brand new zone, the secret realm of the Slippery Gallery. The hallway ahead is pitch black, with dozens of glowing eyes watching him from the shadows. Keeping his eye peeled, our hero goes on high alert, ready for whatever comes next. He glances down and finds out he's standing right in the level 3 thunder snail nest. One of the giant snails recognizes him and screams, accusing our MC of taking out its brother back in the grand graveyard, charging up electricity in its antennas. The boss snail yells for the rest of the swarm to rush our hero. Our guy stares down the incoming wave of lightning, commenting that it's electric-type enemies all over again. Boom! A gigantic electric explosion goes off right in front of him, blinding everything with blue light. Celebrating early, one of the snails cheers that they wiped him out. But before they can blink, one of the snails gets instantly deleted, leaving the rest absolutely shook. Moving at insane speed, our MC dashes around covered in red lightning, slashing multiple snails all at once. Totally shocked by the speed, one of them suggests they all ditch their shells to get a speed boost. The bugs turn into electric slugs, and one of them brags, saying he's gonna show him how terrifying the shellless clan really is. And just like that, everything changed when one of the slugs notices a weird pink energy, asking in total panic if that's mycelium. Gripping his sword, our hero uses it to control strings of mycelium flowing right out of the blade. With a dead serious look, he preps to pop his mycelium detonation skill. And boom, massive fiery explosions burst from the strings, completely wiping out every single monster at once. A system window shows his XP shooting up non-stop from the massive wipeout. The blast's glow is so intense it bleeds right past the door, triggering it to blow up right after. Our boy admits he went a little overboard on the mobs. Finding it weird that the place is completely empty, he wonders what's up. Watching from the cave ceiling, a figure with a glowing red eye lurks, but our MC spots it in a puddle's reflection. Dropping at blazing speed, the creature dives straight at him. Smashing into the ground with insane force, a giant snail shell shatters everything nearby. Barely making it, our MC dodges just in time. Spinning out of control like a runaway tire, the shell kicks up dust and rocks. Blocking the spin attack with his new sword, the friction sparks wildly against the shell. Pushing our guy back, the shell keeps advancing. He then leaps up into the air and triggers his string skill, snagging the enemy shell right after. Then, he pops the 10-vein thunder pull, yanking red energy bolts straight out of the shell. A massive explosion goes off, engulfing the entire area, launching our boy backward. The sheer force of the blast is unreal. Stepping out of the dust, the level 5 Snail King shows its humanoid form, rocking armor and a katana. Staring down the new boss with a glowing red eye, our guy excitedly notes this is a second phase, and the fight just got fun. Over in another corner of the cave, an arrowhead traces figures in the dirt. It's Sei Feng doodling herself and her master on the ground. Since splitting up, she hasn't seen any mobs but keeps getting shared XP. Realizing our MC is locked in a fierce boss battle, she really wants to join. Meanwhile, the sound of clashing steel rings out across the battlefield. Our hero and the Snail King lock into an intense duel, blades crossing at blazing speed. Guarding against a heavy strike, our boy holds his ground. Catching an opening, he answers back with a spinning slash. The hit almost lands dead center. Instantly, the boss starts backing up. Opening his shell, he sprays out this weird liquid, forming a massive torrent of water. Hitting the ground, the blast splashes everywhere while our guy uses his strings to hang from the ceiling. Coating every inch of the cave, the sticky sludge spreads fast. Leaping higher, our boy gets away from the growing puddle. Staring down at the sludge, he admits he has no clue what it does, but dodging is always the safest bet. Out of nowhere, the mycelium strings anchored to the roof start slipping, sending our boy straight down. One way or another, he made contact with the liquid, and quickly, a black blur dashes past. Trying to brace himself, he goes for a block, but his footing slips, and he gets tossed backward like it's nothing. Realizing the water is too slippery to even stand on, he figures out that's why the mycelium slipped from the slime-coated ceiling. Popping out of the water, the Snail King brags that this is his turf, and our MC doesn't stand a chance. Pushing with a spin attack, the boss intercepts our guy midair as he tries to counter. The Snail King switches back to his spinning form, heading straight for our boy, punching a massive hole in the ground from the sheer impact. Thinking he's already won, the Snail King taunts that since our MC uses mycelium, he's just a mushroom man who can't compete with snails. While the boss yaps, our boy's hand starts charging up with energy. A pink aura starts leaking from his body, catching the Snail King off guard. Then, our guy unleashes a burst of mycelium lightning that spreads all over the water. Traveling fast, the pink bolts surge through all the liquid flooding the battlefield, closing right in on the Snail King. Wiping some blood from his mouth, our MC stares down his opponent. Scoffing, the Snail King asks if he'd really fall for the same trick twice, since he can just boost the water's resistance to nerf the shocks. Eyes glowing, our boy admits the boss knows his water, but as they say, dodging well ain't as good as standing in the right spot. Suddenly, the Snail King looks out in panic, realizing the bottom of the pool is completely coated in pink mycelium, forming a massive net. The boss panics upon realizing he backed right into a trap, wondering how long that mycelium has been there. Regaining his cool, he claims it doesn't matter, since he can still tweak the water's resistance to dampen the lightning. Wrapped in a fierce aura, the MC says he's stubborn enough to give it another shot. And that's where it gets crazy. Before the Snail King can even react, he's left totally speechless by what comes next. A massive swirling fire hurricane bursts right out of the water, completely swallowing the boss. Packing so much force, the attack blows a chunk right out of the cave wall. Casually strolling up, our boy watches the trail of smoke rise. Melting away, the Snail King can't fathom how that attack suddenly turned into fire. With his last breath, the monster complains that this wasn't how the game was supposed to be played, before turning to dust. Standing there, our hero is fully wrapped in the pink power radiating from his body. A system alert pops up saying he and his squad just hit level 6. Thanks to the level up, they can now craft portable mycelium packs to store defeated enemies inside. Turning into a walking hotspot, his squad leader can now act as a network download port. On top of that, he can now command thunder zombies, shock troops that forge mycelium weapons, and blast spells. He also scores the tracking thunder skill, charging up energy to drop a massive AoE lightning strike. Finally, he unlocks borrowed troops, letting him craft hammer bombs to chuck at his own units for shrapnel damage. Right after that, the system chimes in. The isolation barrier has finally been lifted. Staring at a pile of rocks, our guy catches a weird humus scent he's never smelled before and calls Firehammer over. Shaking violently, the rocks start cracking open like something's busting out. Bursting from the rubble, Firehammer steps out, flexing his buff mushroom body. Clearing the rocks away reveals a massive pile of glowing black ore. Asking what that black stuff is, our guy listens as Firehammer explains it's black rotstone, created from magic trash and humus mixing over years. Our boy figures that means it's basically worthless. Agreeing with him, Firehammer says trash plus trash equals trash, and no sane blacksmith would even give it a second look. But he points out that was before he turned into a mushroom man, and now this stuff is straight up treasure. Explaining that the near impossible to extract magic residue is the real prize, he starts drawing it out with mycelium. Crushing the rock with his glowing red hand, he claims extracting it is absolute child's play. A system alert pops up saying the residue extraction is done, yielding a shiny arcane silver fragment from the process. Dropping some lore, Firehammer says with good RNG, they can even refine epic tier mana fragments that players pay top dollar for, getting our MC hyped. Pulling a magnifying glass out of nowhere, he squints at it and notes it looks way too tiny to actually be useful. Pointing to the ore pile, Firehammer says he can dig even deeper, so our boy just gives him the green light to strip the whole cave. Wasting no time, the mushroom unleashes a massive wave of red mycelium energy to process the entire rock pile. A bit later, the mining operation is running at full throttle. Spamming the screen, multiple alerts show Firehammer hauling in different arcane fragments back to back. Feeling the cave shake, our MC yells at him to dig all he wants, but not to bring the roof down, only for Firehammer to claim it ain't his doing. Shaking violently, the ground splits as a giant black worm bursts out, flashing a massive mouth full of glowing blue crystal teeth. Charging the threat with zero fear, a tiny mushroom soldier readies to wreck everything in its path while screaming for blood, but he gets stopped dead in his tracks mid-air. Grabbing him by the head, our MC says it's not his turn yet and orders him to stay back and help Firehammer. He tags Seifeng in, and she confirms, noting the new troops are synced up to the network and ready to drop whenever. Out of nowhere, a mushroom scout pops up, reporting the enemy is about to bust right through the ceiling. Echoing the warning, the little guy repeats the alert about the Rotstone Cave. Laying down the law, our boy says they can't let that beast inside, ordering the fight to be pushed into the hallway. The scout nods as a massive hole starts getting drilled to the roof. Freaking out on the floor, the little shroom starts screaming, "Abba, Abba," with the giant worm getting closer by the second, leaving an absolute trail of destruction across the cave. Asking what kind of bug this is, our guy listens as Firehammer explains it's a black scavenger worm, a humus-obsessed beast way tougher than the snails. Hefting his hammer, the blacksmith promises to make the fight easier once he finishes his quota. Jumping right in, Seifeng strikes the incoming beast with her blade, nailing the monster right in the head. With her grudge meter maxed out, Seifeng unleashes a double spinning strike on the beast, slicing the monster up with the heavy hit, but the beast's armor only lets off a little smoke. Shocked by how tanky the enemy is, Seifeng notices even her boss's blade chipped on impact. Out of nowhere, a tiny shroom on her shoulder says Firehammer has new gear ready and she just needs to download it via the network. Plugging into the network, the little guy starts the file transfer. Popping up on her back, a UI shows the download kicking off at 6%. As the monster charges in, the progress bar shoots up, hitting 86%. Jaws wide open, the massive beast lunges to swallow her whole. But the download wraps up just in time, dropping an alert that she unlocked the arcane limit arrows. Drawing her bow, a pure pink energy arrow spawns, aiming straight down the monster's throat. Getting ready to let it fly, she preps her new limit breaker explosive arrow. Flying like a laser, the energy bolt shoots straight at the target, nailing the beast right on the money. Touching down after the shot, she backs away from the blast zone. Triggering inside the beast, a bunch of mushrooms start glowing with pink energy. Blinding everything around, a massive white and pink explosion goes off. Pushing through the pain, the monster lunges at her full of rage. But right before reaching her, the monster's head completely blows up. Disintegrating right after, a system alert confirms the kill and hands over the XP. But the scout shroom tells her not to chill just yet since more are coming, catching the archer off guard. Pointing into the dark, the lookout says a distant scout already spotted another black worm heading their way. Seeing Seifeng panting, he tells her to drain the corpse for heals, adding that the new troops will hold the front line. Gathering on the ground, pink lightning energy starts sparking up. A level 6 explosive fungus guard spawns in, gripping a spear and ready to brawl. Surprised they only manage to summon 2, she listens as the scout explains their unit cap is 6 and they're fully maxed out. Doing the math, she realizes he pushes them over the cap, but the scout smirks, saying he doesn't take up a slot since he's an unofficial network mod. Right on cue, another giant beast smashes through the wall and crashes the party, going straight on the offensive without a second thought. Wondering why this one's got its jaw clamped shut, the scout jokes if it's scared she'll blow its mouth up too. Rushing in, one of the fungus guards dashes at the enemy full speed. Swinging his blade, he leaves a trail of fire in the dirt before smashing the bug, kicking up a cloud of red energy from the sheer impact. Expanding outward, the shockwave kicks up dust and launches the beast into the air. Not missing a beat, the other soldier rushes in for an attack, slamming his blade with everything he's got straight into the black worm's skull, getting blasted backward by the heavy impact. Dropping dead to the floor, the creature stops moving while one guard just stands there, totally impressed. Feng notes this new soldier is built for strength since he launched that worm with one hit. Teaming up, the two new guards push in to finish the job. Leaping up, one of them lands a heavy kick right on the beast's head. Capitalizing on the opening, the other shoves his spear into its jaws, forcing it wide open. Setting himself up, the soldier leaps right over the worm, using the perfect opening to launch his fire blade straight down the worm's throat. Instantly, the sword detonates, sparking a massive fireball that completely blows the monster's head off. A system alert drops saying the mushroom folks hit level 7, and Yang Go scored the exclusive Lone King Leader skill, boosting his stats by 10% for every missing ally, up to 100% cap. Then, the system reveals he can now spawn archer mushrooms, ranged units rocking short blades and elemental arrows that can glide, plus they give a 10% stat buff when near the MC. Wrapping it up, he unlocks the Shield Piercer mushroom, a worker type that copied the worm's digging skill and boosts Firehammer's crafting speed by 10%. Watching the mushroom troops, Feng is impressed by their coordination, but finds it sketchy that soulless mobs have such clean teamwork. The proof is right beneath her feet. The spy mushroom shows a glowing core, proving they're all linked to a single hive mind. Winding through the rocks, the mycelium traces across the cave floor, showing the massive network linking the whole legion. Tracing back to the source, our MC is just chilling there, smiling and joking that commanding this army feels straight up like a video game. Projecting a magic comms link, he orders her to sweep the field for crafting mass, and she hits him with the quick copy that. Scavenging the zone, Feng sifts through busted gear and magic residue, sorting all the loot. Spotting something in the rebel, a glowing organic core pulses hard, like it's still pumping out the beast's life force. Absorbing the bodies unlocks a new buff, a tough skin granting flexibility, but if he takes a hit over half his HP, the shield breaks while regenerating. Noticing the teeth survive the blast without a scratch, she decides to bag them for Firehammer to craft some new weapons. Walking alone through a rocky path, the dead silence is suddenly shattered by a sharp screech. Just the sound of wind whistling through a crack in the cave, sending a strong draft sweeping through the entire tunnel. From the shadows, a dark presence creeps up from the depths, keeping a close eye. Reaper number 10 scopes the scene, totally confused on why the lower floor mobs went offline and how those black beetles got wiped out. Clueless about what's going down downstairs, Reaper number 10 loses his patience and thinks about checking it out himself, but he drops that idea real quick, claiming his trash salary isn't worth risking his neck for. Brushing off the threat, the Reaper couldn't care less, stating he's still got plenty of cannon fodder to throw at the problem. With a dramatic point at the swarm of tiny mobs, he calls out, asking who among them wants to become a player. Thinking they were doomed to rot forever, the mobs are shocked, questioning if a bacteria-type mob can actually become a player. Flexing his authority, the Reaper scoffs, declaring that in this dungeon, your identity is all up to your own willpower. With a slick move, he channels some purple energy over his book, unlocking the floor's privileges and letting the bacteria evolve. After handing out the buffs, the Reaper dips back into a hidden crack, silently watching the new order take over. Watching the swarm push forward, he promises that if they clear out the invaders, the floor and the black roadstone are theirs, getting the mobs hyped to attack. The raid kicks off, and with their new freedom, the monsters scale the dungeon walls with insane agility. Scouring the area, one bacteria asks the boss where the intruder is, noting the floor looks totally empty, but the leader just stays quiet. While on patrol, one of the bacteria spots something sketchy, pointing at a massive wooden box hidden under the rocks. Spotting the chest, the mob gets hyped and lets its greed show, claiming it has zero plans to share the loot with the squad. Blinded by greed, it tries to pry the thing wide open. Popping under pressure, the lid snaps open with a loud creak, exposing what's inside. But that so-called treasure is a trap, as a ghost hand shoots out from the shadows and lunges right at the bacteria. Before it can even react, the hand yanks the mob straight into the chest. The chest snaps shut with a loud, crunchy thud. Suddenly, one of the bacteria gets wrapped in a glitchy red aura, getting dragged away while the rest just watch from afar. Out of nowhere, it gets violently yanked away, leaving one bacteria frozen in place with a totally dumbfounded look. The little mob didn't even have a split second to react. Dragged across the floor, the mob screams in panic while being completely locked down by energy beams, yanking it straight into a dark crack in the wall. The beam leaves deep drag marks in the dirt. completely shook by what just happened. One bacteria just drops a confused, "Huh?" Panic totally takes over the survivors, and unable to process the ambush, they group up, realizing in pure horror that they aren't alone anymore. And just like that, everything changed. The ambush was so fast the mob barely processed it, leaving it in absolute shock. Another bacteria yells out into the dark, demanding to know who's there. A lone silhouette watches them from a distance. Stepping into the light is Milan, a level 7 mushroom archer, shyly apologizing. Annoyed, Seifeng scolds the archer, asking why the heck she's apologizing to the enemy, while Milan just stammers helplessly. She watches the scene, wondering how a creature born from a black beetle's remains could be so timid. Backing up, Milan holds her ground and drops a shy sorry while gripping her glowing bow. Without missing a beat, a red-charged arrow cuts right through the air. With crazy precision, the bacteria snatches the arrow right out of the sky. Smirking, it says they messed up by judging its strength based on looks. Quickly, another arrow comes flying their way. This time it curves mid-air, catching the middle bacteria completely off guard. The heavy hit knocks one of the bacteria backward, leaving the arrow stuck in its round body. Sensing the danger, the other bacteria instantly get into formation, glaring at the enemy and ready to strike back. In pure rage, the bacteria screams that its clan survived for millions of years, daring them to think physical attacks would be enough. Unfazed, Milan flares up a scorching aura around her hand, declaring that high temps are the key to wiping them out. She pops her mycelium skill, which instantly travels down to the stuck arrows. The arrowhead starts sparking up. Milan's heat power triggers a massive explosion right at the impact zone. Out loud, she cheers and celebrates surviving her very first battle in this world. Cutting the party short, Seifeng scolds her for being careless, telling Milan to confirm the kill before celebrating. Suddenly the vibe shifts, and she notices something off. A threat lunges from the shadows, forcing Milan into a desperate dodge to avoid getting hit. The ground shakes from the heavy crash, kicking up rocks and dust as the fight goes up a notch. Standing tall on a rock, a massive figure shows up, mocking those so-called player privileges. Tagged as the level 8 Bacteria King, he brags about breaking past his physical limits in the zone's borders. Against the king's raw power, Seifeng and Milan hold a defensive stance, tracking his every move up there. She orders Milan to provide ranged backup after realizing the extreme danger, and the archer accepts while apologizing for the mess. With a huge burst of momentum, the Bacteria King rushes in. The king slams into the ground at an insane speed. Mid-air, Seifeng repositions fast, firing a rapid volley of arrows to keep the pressure on. He shows off superhuman reflexes by blocking the entire barrage. As a merciless counterattack, the boss blasts a wave of fiery energy. Another ground slam from the king triggers an explosion, but Seifeng uses her agility to dodge it. Glaring down at the archer, the king coldly calls her weak. Milan is stunned, seeing her explosive arrow easily deflected, totally ruining her attack. Seifeng smirks while watching closely, noting that as long as he turned his head, it's good enough. Milan takes advantage of the distraction, firing more shots that cut through the air and force him to react fast. Arrogantly laughing, the king mocks Milan's aim and brags that every single shot missed. Stopping mid-loft, the boss drops a confused when he notices something sketchy. Startled, he sees his skin trapped by an energy beam, wondering in disbelief if the arrows are connected by mycelium. Before he can even move, the energy beams anchored to the rock snap shut, locking him down mid-air. Still glowing, the king underestimates the trap, thinking they're just weak mycelium threads he can easily snap. He tries breaking the bindings, but touching the energy sets off violent electricity, proving the trap is way stronger. With electricity crackling all around the target, Seifeng keeps a confident look on her face. Dropping to his knees, the king takes the heavy hit. Seifeng orders their mushroom ally to finish the enemy off and take his head right now. Getting ready for the hit, the shroom guard raises his weapon up high. Cutting through the air, a clean, lethal slash flashes brightly for the finishing move. The shock is real, with Seifeng and Milan watching in absolute horror. The mushroom's blade stops just inches from the king's neck. Standing completely still, the shroom guard freezes without landing the hit, leaving everyone confused. Echoing across the room is a loud maniacal laugh. He drops a massive revelation, admitting he infected the mycelium strings during the lightning attack to uncover their network. The boss reveals the shroom guard is already infected and won't follow their orders anymore. Flashing an evil grin, the Bacteria King declares that since everyone is online, he's gonna infect the entire network. Seifeng realizes the whole mycelium network is getting corrupted super fast. A massive swarm of bacteria rushes in, backed by deafening, sadistic laughter as they try to consume everything. Catching on to how bad this is, our MC orders all the mushrooms to cut their links and stay offline. Instantly, Seifeng swings her weapon to sever the network connection. Milan does the exact same thing, Saifeng is totally shook when she sees the infection is still eating away at her arm. She drops to her knees, coughing up blood. Milan collapses to the ground, infected as well. Taking advantage of the moment, the king mocks her for being paralyzed. The boss warns that cutting the network is useless since the bacteria are airborne. Glaring fiercely, he moves in to finish everyone off. And no one saw that coming. Our MC steps in with a spinning kick that sends the king flying. The hit is so heavy it leaves a crater and sends debris everywhere. Saifeng apologizes, but our boy tells her to fall back while he takes the wheel. The bacteria king is stuck motionless with his head jammed into the ceiling. He struggles hard to pull himself out of that embarrassing spot. Staring down our MC, he asks if he's the one calling the shots. Enraged, the bacteria king throws a devastating vertical kick. Our guy blocks it with his weapon, cracking the ground from the sheer clash of power. He raises his axe to force a counterattack. Riding the momentum, he nails the enemy with a high-speed electric strike. The clash sparks a glowing explosion along with the loud ring of steel. But our MC is actually surprised, shocked by how strong this guy is. Laughing like a maniac, the king's eyes glow with pure evil. But our boy just scoffs right back at him. He preps a massive punch without giving him a single inch of breathing room. The sheer force of the impact is overwhelming, leaving the boss completely defenseless. He spikes the enemy into the dirt, straight up splitting the ground in half. Completely terrified, the bacteria king asks why the hits keep getting heavier. Our MC leaps through the dust, rushing him out of nowhere. He fires off rapid axe slashes that completely corner the boss. Staying laser-focused, our guy keeps swinging to secure the final blow. But before he can follow up, he feels something sketchy. Dropping to one knee, he struggles to stand while coughing up blood. The king gloats, claiming that close combat just speeds up the deadly infection. He reveals he snuck parasites into the fungus colony inside our boy's body. The bacteria king pops his parasite heal skill to patch up his wounds. Declaring the tables have turned, he winds up for a heavy kick. The strike hits our MC dead center before he even has time to react, sending him flying way back. He counters by digging his weapon into the ground to slow down. The king watches the whole struggle closely, launching himself forward at top speed. Our boy barely catches his breath as the attack cuts through the air toward him, delivering a hyper-accurate strike. The hit slashes our MC's back, making blood splatter everywhere. Chaining attacks, the masked boss spams Staff Blade and Bacillus Blade with zero mercy. Echoes ring out as our guy gets tossed further and further away. The boss channels all his leftover energy to prep his final strike. The heavy hit slams right into our MC, making the whole cave shake. The king taunts him, offering a quick end to all the pain. Acting confused, our guy claims he has no idea what this infection even is. The king is absolutely stunned, watching his skin heal up instantly. Losing his mind, he screams that this doesn't make any sense. With his squad backed off, our boy's stats shoot up by 60%, unlocking Saifeng's limited tough skin that gives him Black Beetle durability, though taking a 50% HP hit breaks the shield. Shield fully active, our MC easily tanks the bacteria king's blow. The shockwave is wild, but he stands his ground and sarcastically asks, "Ever heard of antibiotics?" Startled, the bacteria king steps back while our boy holds his stance, asking again if he knows what antibiotics do. A glowing slash violently cuts through the air. The blade nails the target dead center, leaving a massive gash. Knocked way back, the king gets dragged across the dirt. Moving clean, our boy fires a ranged attack and yanks the bacteria king right to him, dropping a badass "get over here." Dazed, the bacteria king gets dragged through the dust. In a quick flashback, Firehammer explains the black rotstones hold alchemy potion residue tossed out by high-level players and absorbed by the rocks. Looking determined, he drops his philosophy, saying whatever other players throw away, he turns into treasure. Back in the present, our guy tells Firehammer to refine the mats for their next moves. With a smooth motion, he unleashes a pinpoint strike, his energy slicing the air and leaving a glowing trail. Our boy channels the reagent's power to drop a direct heavy hit he calls the antibiotic strike. The raw force of the attack hits the boss, shattering the area with a shockwave as a purifying energy expands outward. Crumbling under the pressure, the whole structure collapses, tossing rocks and debris everywhere with a deafening roar. The impact blows a crater in the ground, leaving the enemy completely pinned in the rubble. Taking a fatal chest wound, the bacteria king drops. Even wounded, he stays cocky, claiming physical attacks are useless since his bacteria will just regenerate. But looking down at his hand, he sees it straight up disintegrating. And this is where it gets good. The bacteria king's ego totally crumbles when he realizes his regen failed. Desperate and frustrated, he screams as his body gets eaten away by an energy he can't stop. A loud boom echoes across the field as the king's body explodes. Confirming the win, the system bumps our MC and his squad to level 8, unlocking bacterial resistance, spore clones, berserker mushroom works, and mycelium arrows. Silence falls over the spot while mushroom fields pulse with light, marking the colony's new era. Seifeng walks up with a smile, reporting that the mushrooms are growing perfectly. He checks out the harvest, explaining the leftover mud from the black rot stones is top-tier fertilizer to speed up the farm. Announcing it's grub time, Firehammer hauls over a steaming pot for the crew. Our MC calls Seifeng, Yangjun, Milan, and Firehammer over for a break, serving up a special meal to recover their stats. Milan tilts her head out of curiosity and asks the boss what staff lunch actually means. Smiling, he explains it's just a phrase from his old world for free food given to workers. The squad finds the logic funny, and Firehammer points out that since the food is mushrooms and they are mushrooms, it's quite literally a staff lunch. Speechless at his weird logic, our boy drops a surprise comment while Seifeng laughs in the background. Reaper number 10 watches the squad in dead silence, glaring with glowing purple eyes. Standing still on the cliff, the Reaper stays quiet while spying on the crew below. In a cold tone, the Reaper notes the bacteria failed and decides he needs new cannon fodder. The whole place violently shakes from a heavy impact, rumbling with a sharp thud. Spotting the ground shake, the Reaper is confused by the beast popping out, noting it looks exactly like the black scavenger beetle he swore he wiped out. A flash of energy cuts right through the pitch-black battlefield at blinding speed. A massive, creepy entity towers over the lone figure as rubble fills the area. Emerging is the shield borer Blue Star, a giant engineering mushroom grown from a black beetle that can drill rocks or smash heavy units. Reaper number 10 is absolutely shook, seeing what he thinks is his own beetle, questioning what the heck is standing in front of him. Stepping out from the debris, our MC makes his entrance. With glowing red eyes, he glares at the intruder, asking, "So you're the one dumping players on my turf?" Clapping back, the Reaper says, "So you're that bug everyone's talking about." Wrapped in a purple aura, the Reaper flips open a mystic book and furiously vows to delete him from the system, triggering light wave 1-strike account deletion. The magic circle tears up the ground and fires a beam of pure destruction. Our boy's giant beast charges right at the attack, clashing head-on, unexpectedly getting overpowered. The Reaper yells in shock, "What? He's actually suppressing me." Dark, dense energy slams into the zone, shattering the floor and tossing debris everywhere. The clash is so heavy the ground breaks apart, covering the whole battlefield in a massive dust cloud. Opening his purple glowing magic book, Reaper 10 sees the bug leveled up too fast and decides to call for backup. But our MC dashes in and snatches the book right out of his hand. Reaper 10 stays completely frozen in place, staring at our guy in disbelief. Furious, Reaper 10 snaps, screaming desperately to get his item back. Our MC just decks him in the face. A clean hit from our boy makes the ground cave in, cracking the dirt right under his feet. Reaper 10 gets launched into the rubble, groaning right before getting buried under the glow of his own aura. Holding the book, our MC inspects it, curious about what this thing actually does. Cornered, Reaper 10 tries to strike a deal, saying he'll only talk if he's spared. Our boy ignores the begging, opening the book and demanding the guy read about Sophus's privileges. Energy cracks show the Reaper's absolute panic over the demand while he shakes under his cloak. Our MC watches in disbelief as Reaper 10 gives up the fight and just books it. He screams that he just wants to escape, threatening to bring an army back to wipe them all out. Pushing his speed to the max, Reaper 10 tries to put some distance between them. A blade of pure energy slices the ground, shaking the dirt and kicking up a thick dust cloud. Stunned by the attack, the target yells out, "An ambush." Up above, Milan was already waiting to ambush him if he ran. She unleashes heavy flames from her fist, traveling down the mycelium thread. The fire heads straight for the Reaper. Desperate, he begs for a truce, pleading for them to stop the attack and talk things out, but she answers with a fiery explosion that echoes through the rubble. Milan lands after dropping down from the ceiling. The archer stares at the scene, totally puzzled, wondering if she actually heard him beg for a chat. Apologizing for jumping the gun, she gets a pass from our MC, who says grabbing the privilege book was all that mattered. He breaks down what the book does: track players, kick out rule breakers, and hand out NPC status. The girls ask if they can become players too. After hearing it lets NPCs leave restricted zones. The boss stares at the pages in shock, revealing that, to the system, they're just bugs. Getting worried, Seifeng asks if other admins will show up to wipe them out under the excuse of maintenance. The book starts glowing bright, and an urgent alert pops up saying an admin is trying to connect. Panicking that their location will leak, his subordinate freaks out while our guy coldly answers the call. A shady entity pops up on the hologram. The other admin comes in hot, glaring with pure rage and screaming, "You!" Locking his eyes on the intruders, he makes it clear he won't tolerate this disrespect. The tension drops a bit when the admin asks why it took so long to answer, and they casually replied they were fixing a bug. He scoffs at their slow pace and orders them to mark the bug as resolved once they're done. Our guy laughs sarcastically as he poses as Reaper 10, cutting the comms and coldly asking if they still need him. The admin spots some weird data on the 3rd floor and orders him to handle it right away. Fading out, the hologram disappears into the shadows. Relieved the disguise actually worked, his subordinate asks if their next stop is really the 3rd floor. Cautiously, our MC reflects. Feeling like he's being played, he expands his mycelium network to scout the area. Looking around with worry, Seifeng asks where Milan went. The MC tries tracking the archer on the network, but his face hardens when he sees she completely vanished. Through the comms, he immediately demands to know if anyone spotted her. A spy mushroom breaks the tension, reporting it's at the end of the hall and begging for help. Sprinting down the corridor, the duo reaches a dark chamber to see what the little guy found. It confirms Milan disappeared right there, explaining that any attempt to push the mycelium past that point gets cut off. Inspecting the structures, our boy notices giant roots completely corroded and full of holes. A cold chill runs down his spine as he dreads the thought of something eating wood down here. Realizing termites are destroying the roots, he decides to dive straight into the 3rd floor to rescue Milan right now. But Seifeng stops him dead in his tracks, explaining that walking in blind without the mycelium network is pure suicide. Pointing out his role as the boss, she warns him not to risk it, since getting captured means losing their only strategic backup. She steps up to take the mission herself, promising to send intel the moment she gets a grip on the situation. Taking full responsibility, Seifeng guarantees backup, while the leader firmly tells her not to sweat it. While prepping, he worries the mycelium step might attract the termites, but she calms him down by mentioning the bugs have terrible vision. Our MC guides the infiltration, warning that despite being nearly blind, those pests have sharp senses, so he demands a specific move upon arrival. During her sneak-in, a lone termite crawls across the rough ground, using its antennas to scan for threats. Suddenly, its antennas brush against something. The bug instantly reacts to a pheromone release, halting its patrol after sensing a danger signal. Freaking out, the insect starts running wildly, its clicking echoes giving away that it's completely spooked. Thanks to the spy mushroom, the termite's pheromone broadcast gets translated straight into their language. The translation uncovers some internal drama, with one termite bragging about finding a rare mushroom, making the rest of the colony super jealous. Working exactly as planned, Seifeng sneaks in disguised as a mushroom, getting carried right into the colony by a worker termite. Once inside, she spreads the mycelium around, releasing soft, glowing spores into the pitch-black nest. One of the bugs finds the spores, getting hooked by the scent and devouring them while claiming it's a top-tier snack. Eating that infected mycelium sets off a chain reaction, throwing the whole colony into a frenzy as the infection spreads fast. A massive burst of energy goes off, and seeing the colony in pure chaos, she finally figures out why her ally went quiet. Worker and soldier ants just keep up their routines, completely clueless about the deadly mutations silently creeping through the tunnels. Then the termite just tosses Seifeng straight down a hole. Handing over a fungus sample to its boss, a bug promises to deliver it to their master the second the harvest is done. Seifeng pops right out of the rubble. Checking out the mix of sawdust and spores, she realizes this spot is the termite's personal fungus farm. Out of nowhere, a voice calls out from the shadows, trying to calm the vibe by saying, "Don't sweat it too much. Another mushroom is just chilling right there." This fungus named Xiaozong wakes up and explains that worker ants only care about spores, leaving awakened shrooms like him alone. Seifeng walks up to him, asking if he's seen a little girl rocking a red hat, a black jacket, and a pink skirt. Shaking his head, no. The mushroom hints he hasn't bumped into anyone matching that look. She drops more details, saying the girl is super spacey and constantly apologizing for every little thing. Suddenly, it clicks for the little shroom, his face lighting up with realization. Pointing off into the distance, he reveals the girl was an awakened mushroom captured as a tribute for the Ant King and Queen. Xiaozhong watches the other mushroom walk off and asks where the heck she's going, totally confused by the rush. Turning back, she asks if Xiaozhong really plans to just ignore the little shroom's cruel fate of getting eaten by ant royalty. Firmly shaking his head, Xiaozhong makes it crystal clear he has zero plans of leaving this spot. Feeling cornered, he figures hiding is his only shot at surviving those nasty soldier ants. At that exact moment, an ant pops up out of nowhere. Seeing that, Xiaozhong instantly rethinks his life choices. Without a second second thought, he scrambles up the hole, reaching the very top. Cautiously, he scans the area before making a move, but his eyes go wide, leaving him in absolute shock at the scene ahead. The whole place is completely trashed, with soldier ant parts scattered all over the dirt. Disbelieving, the little shroom yells, "What the heck is she? What kind of mushroom is that?" Magic portals rip open on the ground, summoning a fresh threat as the dreaded elite soldier ants join the fray. Snatching up a fallen mushroom, one elite soldier ant coldly declares it's getting delivered straight to the ant king. But the ant senses something sketchy. Confused, it yells out, "What's going down over there?" Spotting a presence nearby, one of the elite soldier ants shouts, "Who goes there?" With a heavy, energy-packed strike, Seifeng rocks the whole room with a massive boom, slicing the beast clean in half. She leaves nothing but a glowing trail of energy in the air. Relieved, Milan cries out full of hope, "Captain, you came to save me." Swiftly, Seifeng cuts the ropes. Overwhelmed with relief, Milan tries to thank her boss but completely freezes up trying to find the words. Seifeng just bonks her on the head to scold her. She totally ignores the relief, chewing her out for getting captured like a rookie. Wasting no time, the duo books it across the dry wasteland, leaving the danger in the dust. Milan wonders how they'll outrun the ants, but Seifeng trusts their boss is coming to scoop them up. Out of nowhere, she hits the brakes, eyes wide open after spotting something wild up ahead. Kicking up dust as she skids to a halt, she screams a warning when a sketchy figure blocks their path. Unable to stop in time, Milan crashes right into her back. Seifeng instantly goes on high alert. Trapped inside a crater, they find themselves surrounded by dozens of ants glowing with a purple aura. The ant boss orders his squad to hold tight and wait for the perfect moment to rip the girl apart, but one of the grunts notices something lurking nearby. Seifeng's mushroom form pops right out. Confusing the heck out of the ants, her arrival makes them question if they're even tracking the right target. Without blinking, she chucks a rock and yells, "Ultra kill finisher, flying stone." The rock bonks the ant right on the head, but absolutely nothing happens. Seifeng just stands there watching in dead silence. Triggered, the massive ant claps back, roaring, "You little pebble, you dare throw rocks at me?" Barking the order, the leader yells, "Everyone, tear her into 8 pieces," as the horde rushes in. Somehow, Seifeng manages to juke the swarm. She uses the chaos to guide the escape, shouting, "They fell for it, follow me." Sprinting away, she warns Milan that the boss is using the draft to open a tunnel and dodge the termites. The sheer weight of an attack makes the ground instantly cave in, cracking everything from the heavy impact. Caught completely off guard, Seifeng freezes. Acting on pure reflex, she screams for her partner to get out of the way right now. The floor just crumbles under Milan, sending her falling straight into a hole. Darting forward, the ant lunges right at Seifeng. A heavy clash of power shoots out blazing sparks, totally blocking the enemy's rush. Blades cross with mandibles in a brutal test of strength, lighting up the dark with sparks. Popping up from the rocks, Milan panics and cries out for her boss's attention. Even under heavy fire, Seifeng stays chill and orders, "Don't sweat it, stick to the plan." Pulling herself together, Milan promises to finish the escape mission just like they planned. An explosion of energy and sparks lights up the spot, showing off the brutal brawl. She locks her eyes on the threat, a look of pure shock taking over her face from the sudden twist. Slamming its blades into the ground with full force, the ant completely shatters the rock below. The dust clears to reveal the ant captain, stepping up ready to clash with the archer. Mocking her, the captain brags that blocking one hit won't save them from getting surrounded. Seifeng just watches in shock, mind blown that the spug is actually speaking the common tongue. She keeps her cool, figuring out this enemy squad is way too small to hold them down. With flawless aim, she doubles down on her absolute trust in Milan's skills. The ant captain finds it super weird that Seifeng keeps aggressively attacking the dirt. Letting a charged arrow fly, she rips up the ground and leaves a devastating trail behind. Milan rushes in at top speed. Zipping right past her, Seifeng's arrow barely misses. In a quick flashback, Seifeng worries about a trap but gets told they'll use the bug's own habits against them. The weapon pierces the organic mass with raw energy, while the attacker mocks the prey's appetite. Sticking to the script, the squad baits the bugs into eating the mycelium exactly as planned. Blinded by greed, one insect gets a warning from a buddy not to fall for the trap. The buddy stops, but when he looks back, the one who gave the warning is already gone. Rushing over to feed his boss, the grunt is shocked to see him scarfing down the mycelium alone, getting mocked in response. Driven by pure greed, the bug ignores the danger and impatiently demands a worker feed him right this second. Quickly stepping up with the meal, a lesser grunt announces its duty with total submission. Catching on to the play, Milan praises her boss, saying, "Only you could cook up a trick like this to clear the way, Captain." Taken over by crazy possessiveness, worse. The bug screams warnings and threatens to bite anyone who gets near its stash. Things escalate super fast, and the captain watches the whole swarm plunge into a bloody civil war. The brawl turns into pure chaotic rage as a furious scream echoes, "Unacceptable." Wasting zero time on the mob, Seifeng fires a pinpoint arrow that slices the air, forcing a quick dodge. The shot lands with dead-on accuracy, but the arrow just bounces right off his tough shell. Somehow, the arrow manages to pierce the surface. Getting into a fighting stance, the bug mocks her, bragging that direct hits are useless unless they find the gaps in his armor. His eyes go wide when he spots the dense energy straight up warping the space right in front of him. The termite is left speechless watching Seifeng vanish, leaving only energy trails after popping her soft thread step. Wrapped in a glowing red aura, she unloads a barrage of arrows that tears up the zone, keeping the heat on. With a dead center hit, the red energy violently bursts right through the termite's cracked armor. Creaking under the pressure, the bug realizes in pure shock that 3 simultaneous arrows pushed his defense to the breaking point. Frozen in confusion, the insect watches the arrow blow past his shell, completely rattled by the catastrophic failure. Still acting cocky, the termite swears his chest armor is way too tough to shatter like his headplate did. Seifeng channels power into her hands, prepping another heavy strike while dashing swiftly through the air. Losing his cool, the termite tries to mock her so-called desperation, accusing her of just swinging blind. Panic finally sets in when he realizes he ain't just eating punches, but sharp blades slicing right through his guard. Moving at breakneck speed, Seifeng's thread-cutting step punches right through the termite's plating like it's nothing. A blinding flash pops off as the technique overloads the beast, leaving it completely wide open. With his guard shattered, Seifeng keeps her cool stance, staring down her weakened enemy. A high-pitched screech echoes across the battlefield, showing the absolute shock from the wild turnaround. Causing a massive shockwave, the impact violently tosses shrapnel and debris high into the air. Barely in time, Seifeng manages to dodge the blast. A deep crack rips open in the rock while she keeps a sharp eye out as the dust settles. Stepping out of the rubble, an intimidating figure gives her props for actually taking down the captain. The commander, wrapped in a dark aura, unleashes his rage and blames her for the whole mess. Consumed by that dark energy, the boss orders everyone to jump back into the brawl immediately. Sucking in everything nearby, a dark energy vortex starts charging up a devastating attack. Suddenly, the ground shakes violently. Right End's command, a flood of soldiers launches forward like living missiles. Unfazed, Seifeng raises her bow and channels the mycelium net snare to lock them all down. The charged arrow glows a bright pink as it cuts through the air toward its target. Landing a solid hit, the shot nails one of the termites. The crash spawns an energy grid that snaps shut like a trap, breaking apart everything nearby. She focuses blazing power into her fist, dropping the command, "Ignite." The commander launches a strike, desperate to stop her from popping more skills. Pushing forward, the boss drops the twin mandible lash, slicing the air with lethal precision. At the very last second, the jaws get blocked, sparking a loud boom from the heady clash of power. Crumbling under the pressure, the ground caves in, tossing debris and rocks everywhere from the brutal hit. With a slick acrobatic flip, Seifeng barely dodges while her opponent keeps his guard up. She uses the chaos to reposition and turn up the heat on her assault. With a nasty sneer, the commander taunts, "Trying to sneak attacks through the gaps in my armor again?" With a quick move, he claps back, "I'm way more flexible than you think." The raw intensity of the impact makes Seifeng's arms shake, almost dropping her blade from the nasty counter. Dropping a follow-up, the commander unleashes a strike with overwhelming speed. The heavy hit throws her backward, leaving her dazed as she realizes how cracked his strength really is. Digging her boots into the rocky floor, Seifeng uses the friction to hit the brakes and instantly regain her balance. Wrapped in that dark aura, the termite boss just laughs at her struggle, promising a devastating follow-up attack. Her vibe completely shifts, the shock on her face showing she just realized how massive this threat really is. Back at base, our split-hair MC remembers a wild fact about termites locking their jaws, a clutch detail to read the enemy's moves. Watching closely, he hears the metallic click of those jaws echoing, confirming a super lethal strike is on the way. Amidst the heavy tension, Seifeng holds her guard, wondering in pure shock what the enemy's about to do next. The boss shows off his trick, crossing and snapping his jaws to unleash a massive elastic force, putting Seifeng on high alert. And that's where it gets crazy. He fires it off without hesitating, sending a blast of pure kinetic energy that wipes out everything in its path. Vibrating the whole room, the springjaw smash launches a massive shockwave straight at the archer. The kinetic force is so wild it straight up throws her into the rock wall, blasting debris everywhere everywhere. Smashing into the wall, the violent hit sparks an explosion of rock shards and kicks up a thick dust cloud, instantly turning the stone to dust. The destructive power proves just how raw and unstoppable that strike really was. The fresh crater in the wall shows off the brutal impact, making the whole cave rumble under the sheer weight of the blow. Lost in the chaos, the thick dust and leftover energy form a heavy curtain, completely hiding how the attack ended up. Brushing off an arrow that bounces off his shell, the boss mocks her, saying projectiles are useless if they can't pierce his armor. With a heavy pant, Seifeng locks eyes on her enemy, adjusting her stance to break that guard. The commander spots her stubbornness and drops a sarcastic remark, admitting he respects a fighter who goes to the bitter end. With zero hesitation, he orders his troops to rush in, swearing to bring Seifeng's head back to the queen as a trophy. Following orders instantly, one of the termite grunts charges at top speed, wrecking everything in its path toward her. She gets boxed in by the massive shadow of those metal jaws, snapping shut in a sudden lunge that threatens to swallow her whole. Right after the hit, a UI notification pops up saying the connection is back online, while a trail of blood drips down the warrior's lip. Another massive shockwave kicks up the dust. Using pure brute force, the termite soldier slams its jagged arm into the dirt, instantly blowing a crater into the ground. And no one saw that coming. The masked boss is completely shook, dropping a stunned "what" after watching the wild twist. Stepping through the dust, the shroom guard shows up as a living shield, wielding his heavy rectangular blade to parry the hits. Even more guards pop up into the fray. They keep the pressure cranked with back-to-back sword strikes, sending rubble flying everywhere. Blindsided by the mushroom backup, the commander is in total shock, wondering how they even slipped past his defenses. With the system back online, Seifeng pops into the comms, urgently asking where the boss is at. The shield borer replies he's wiping out the stragglers, adding that thanks to Milan he got the enemy data and set up mycelium traps. He warns the squad that he's sinking the gathered XP, suggesting everyone check out their brand new forged gear. The system fires up and energy flows out, wrapping Seifeng in a pulsing aura while the combat data heavily boosts her stats, proving that her skill evolution just hit its absolute peak. A system alert drops to confirm the mushroom folk race hit level 9, beefing up their presence against the dark threats. With her glow-up locked in, Seifeng steps up looking completely badass, dominating the room with a bright, overpowered aura. Wrapping up the upgrade, the system finishes her Parasol Skirt Flight armor, giving her top-tier defense and spore-powered flight that needs a cooldown. She unlocks fresh offensive skills too, like armor-piercing arrows and the Meteor's Spike Shot, which blends archery and momentum for fatal blows. Meanwhile, the Shroom Guards keep up their absolute massacre on the termites. The boss's troops drop one by one right at their feet, turning the field into total chaos. The Shroom Guards push through the rubble, checking the downed bugs and claiming their turf. Frustrated after getting absolutely bodied, the boss yells an angry challenge, asking if she's incapable of winning a fair 1v1. Keeping it chill, she claps back that since 3 of her guards wiped out 20 soldiers, he has zero right to cry about being cornered. Fueled by pure hate, the commander launches into a high-speed rush, dead set on taking her out regardless of the guards. Moving like a predator, one Shroom Guard throws a heavy slash, ripping the air with his blade to intercept the boss. But incredibly, he manages to dodge the hit by a hair. He immediately vaults right over the massive guard. The boss completely vanishes from sight, leaving only a trail of dust. Seizing the opening, Seifeng pops up in the distance, drawing her bow with a glowing aura and ready to fire. Blind with rage, the commander screams, "Why are you being so damn stubborn?" With zero hesitation, Seifeng fires her shot, sending a mycelium-charged arrow slicing through the air like a laser to end the fight. The termite commander refuses to take the L, shaking his head as his jaws snap shut with brute force against the attack. Moving insanely fast, his strike gets met dead center by the incoming arrow, getting launched ridiculously far backward this time around. The shockwave from the hit shatters the ground, showing off the pure raw power of the attack. Caving in under the pressure, the dirt forms a deep crater wrapped in dust and debris. Surprised by how hard the shot hit, the boss calms down when he realizes the arrow barely scratched his armor. But that's where it gets crazy. His defense gets completely shattered by a clean hit, sending violent energy sparks flying everywhere. The weapon's tip punches right through his shell at blinding speed. Jumping on the chance, Seifeng rushes the commander at full speed. She unleashes the Meteor Spike Shot, channeling massive explosive energy. Countering with his jaws, the boss coldly claims she's rushing to her death against his Spring Jaw Smash. The clash of their skills creates a deafening boom, scattering bright sparks all over the room. From the impact zone, a burst of crimson energy flares up while Seifeng holds her ground. The sheer force of the blow whips up a massive tornado, tossing dirt and rubble high into the air. Deep cracks start spreading across the commander's armor as he stays completely silent under the crushing weight. Finally, the beast's body just gives out, spiking the boss straight into the ground. The final hit leaves Seifeng staring at the ruins to the dust cloud. The sound of clapping interrupts the quiet, making her turn around. Walking out of the dust, our MC in his mushroom form praises Seifeng's glow-up, hyping up how cracked her strength is getting. He casually explains he just swapped flavors by reverting back to his original fungus body. A loud rumble echoes through the caves, putting Seifeng on guard while our boy mentions his squad is about to breach the queen's chamber. Engulfing the area, a fiery explosion pops off as the little mushroom unleashes his power on the grunts. Blue energy floods the zone, blasting a bug with devastating force and totally wiping out the enemy's front line. Asking about the fire and electric units, she listens as our boy explains he managed to replant them thanks to his new high level. Tiny mushrooms push through the cave under massive shadows, keeping a sharp eye on the rough terrain. Suddenly, our MC stops in his treks, feeling a super heavy, threatening aura right up ahead. The whole march gets halted by the sudden crushing pressure, ringing out loudly. A heavy slam against the ground signals the start of a brand new dangerous boss fight. Three massive figures step onto the field: the sniper white general, the explosive white lieutenant, and the beak white lieutenant. Flexing its authority, another high-level termite warns them that this royal turf is strictly off-limits to intruders. RMC screams at the top of his lungs, warning everyone about the incoming danger. A high-speed weapon slices through the air, giving off a sharp crack right before a vicious attack. Dropping a heavy hit, the enemy attacks. Our boy recognizes the exact same move used by the legendary White Termite Legion commander just from the stance. Going bright green, the projectile flies forward at insane speed. Raising his hand, our MC manifests a raw energy that stretches all across the room. A massive mycelium net expands outward. Acting like a giant shield, it perfectly blocks the incoming strike. A blinding explosion of light swallows the field, wrecking their vision as the energy blasts outward. Stepping out of the flash, the little mushroom glows with a greenish tint, on high alert from all the chaotic energy. An emerald green shockwave turns the whole zone to dust, hitting with the wild intensity of a nuke. Smoke hangs heavy in the air, while trails of red energy show off just how badly that hit wrecked the place. Standing amidst the rubble, our MC manages to save one of the guards. The others were frantically trying to protect themselves. Once the dust clears, our boy admits, clearly shook, that he only managed to pull out one shroom guard. The mycelium barrier tanked a chunk of the toxic blast, but the one standing closest got completely leveled. Our MC mourns the loss of his troops, figuring out that his poison resistance is his biggest weak point. Through the thick smoke, he carefully watches the total ruin left behind. Taking advantage of the dust screen, one of the termite commanders pushes forward at blazing speed.